At a wedding in Cana, disaster. Struck, they ran out of wine. The hosts were about to face utter shame. But Jesus' mother, Mary, knew he could fix it. She told the servants, "Do whatever he says." Jesus turned 6 jars of water into the best wine the guests had ever tasted. In that moment, Jesus revealed his incredible power, his first miracle that left everyone in awe, and his disciples believing in him. This wasn't just wine, it was a display of divine glory.
Second miracle performed by Jesus, as recorded in the Gospel of John, was the healing of the royal official's son in Cana of Galilee. A royal official came to Jesus in Cana, desperately pleading for his son, who was gravely ill in Capernaum. Despite the physical distance, about 25 miles between Cana and Capernaum, Jesus reassured the man with the words, "Go, your son will live." John chapter 4 verse 50. The official believed Jesus and left. On his way home, his servants met him with the news that his son had recovered. Upon inquiring, the father discovered that the boy began to heal at the exact moment Jesus had spoken the words of healing. Jesus' second miracle showed his power knows no distance. Will you believe his word today?
Did you know about Jesus' third miracle? Near the sheep gate in Jerusalem, there was a pool called Bethesda, where crowds of sick and disabled people waited for healing. Among them was a man who had been paralyzed for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there, he asked, "Do you want to get well?" The man replied, "I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred." Then Jesus said to him, "Get up. Pick up your mat and walk." Instantly, the man was healed. He picked up his mat and began to walk. This miracle, found in John chapter 5 verse 1 through 15, reveals Jesus' power to heal and restore. His words bring life and hope to all who trust in him. What does this miracle mean to you? Jesus' fourth miracle was the healing of Peter's mother-in-law, as recorded in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. After teaching in the synagogue, Jesus visited Peter's house, where Peter's mother-in-law was lying in bed with a fever. Without hesitation, Jesus touched her hand, rebuked the fever, and immediately, she was healed. She got up and began to serve them. This miracle shows Jesus' compassion, power over illness, and how his touch brings restoration. It's a reminder that Jesus cares for us personally, even in our weakest moments. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish and looking up to heaven, he gave thanks and broke them. Luke chapter 9 verse 16. Jesus was preaching to a massive crowd, and as the day passed, the people grew hungry. But all they had was a boy's small lunch, just 5 loaves and 2 fish. The disciples thought it wasn't enough, but Jesus took the food, gave thanks, and began breaking it. Miraculously, the food multiplied, feeding over 5,000 people until they were completely satisfied. And even after everyone ate, 12 baskets of leftovers remained. This was more than just a meal, it was a sign of God's overflowing provision. Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He is real, and he still provides abundantly for those who trust in him. Years, a woman in the Bible. She suffered constant bleeding, weakness, isolation. No doctor could heal her. She spent all she had, but her condition only grew worse. Yet in her heart, she knew only Jesus could heal her. "If I just touch his robe, I will be healed." Mark chapter 5 verse 28. With one desperate reach, power surged. Instantly, the bleeding stopped. She was healed. Jesus turned. "Who touched me?" Trembling, she confessed. With love, he said, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace." Her suffering ended, her shame erased. Jesus was the only one who could make her whole. Jesus still heals today. Jesus heals a man's withered hand. Matthew chapter 12 verse 13. Inside the synagogue, a man stood with a withered hand, his life full of suffering. The Pharisees watched closely, ready to accuse Jesus for healing on the Sabbath. But Jesus, full of power, asked them, "Is it right to do good or evil? To save life or destroy it?" Silence. Then, he turned to the man and commanded, "Stretch out your hand." Instantly, his hand was healed. The crowd gasped, but the Pharisees, instead of believing, plotted to kill Jesus. Yet nothing could stop him then, and nothing can stop him now. Jesus is alive and still heals today. A man in the book of Mark chapter 5 in the Bible, wild and uncontrollable, living among tombs, screaming and cutting himself. Everyone avoided him, was overtaken by demons. Then Jesus arrived. The man ran to him, and the demons cried out in fear. Jesus commanded them to leave, sending them into a herd of pigs, which rushed off a cliff into the sea. The man, completely transformed, calm, clothed, and in his right mind. People were stunned as he shared what Jesus had done. This is the power of Jesus bringing peace, even to the darkest situations. Jesus has the power to transform any situation. Jairus was a respected synagogue leader, but none of his influence or knowledge could save his dying 12-year-old daughter. Jairus fell at Jesus' feet, pleading, "My little girl is dying. Please come and heal her." But before they arrived, a messenger said, "Your daughter is dead." Jairus' heart sank, but Jesus said, "Don't be afraid, just believe." At the house, mourners wept. But Jesus declared, "She is not dead but asleep." They laughed, but Jesus took the girl's hand and said, Talitha cum. Immediately, she opened her eyes and stood up. Jesus proved his power over death. No situation is too far gone for him. Quiet. Be still. Then the wind died down and it was completely calm. Mark chapter 4 verse 39. The storm raged, waves crashed into the boat, and the disciples panicked. Lord, we're going to die. They cried, but Jesus? He was asleep, unshaken, full of peace. As the wind howled and water filled the boat, Jesus stood up, stretched out his hand, and commanded, Quiet. Be still. In an instant wind ceased, the waves calmed, and peace filled the sea. The disciples stared in awe, whispering, Who is this? Even the wind and waves obey him. The answer? Jesus is Lord. And he still calms the storms in our lives today. Like and subscribe for more Bible stories.